Hi guys, welcome to Burningmonkey.net. So here I have the script up, storyboard, so you can see one circle, Burning Monkey Productions, page 1, and just a rough draft of what the animation will look like. So, in this episode, I'm going to show you how I go about animating. So the first thing I have up is After Effects, and here I just create a new composition, and right here where it says composition name, which is basically one circle. And then the resolution. What is the top resolution here? So right now we're in HDTV 1080p at 2997, so that's 29.97 frames. And if you want to future-proof your work, you go down to Film 4K, which is for the next generation of TVs, which are 4K enabled. So with that said, I'm just going to go ahead and leave it at 1080p. And then go ahead and click on OK. And suddenly you'll get this. So you'll have your project stuff here. And you have two little tabs up here. So you have Effect Controls and Project. So here in the Project area, you can import just like we have done in the Premiere Pro. So you just right click in this area, you go to import and then file, multiple files, whatever you're going to do. You can also create, like before, some solids. And to do that, you do the same thing. You right click down here, new, and then you can make text, solid, light, camera, null, object, shape layer, adjust layer, and whatnot. And here are some tools up here. So pretty much the same layout as Premiere Pro. So now I'm come back, I'm gonna go ahead and import the image, or actually I'll do it. Give me a second. Okay, so I just opened up Photoshop, and here I'm gonna go ahead and click on New. And remember that resolution we were working with? So right now I have it at custom, but I'm gonna go ahead and change it back to film and video, and go straight down to HD 1080p 2997. Now the 2997 isn't really that important here, but it will be more you start using this program. So anyway, just go ahead and click OK. And if I was at custom, I could also change it to pixels and set the resolution at 1920 by 1080. But this is a lot easier, and you get these little cool grid lines which show you the safety zone. So I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. So you double click and then click OK, and it'll get rid of that little background layer lock, so that you don't mess up with that background layer. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that background layer. To do that, you just click this little eyedropper here, and it completely disappears. So if it's not visible, then it won't show up when you do the final save of this image. So if I save this right now, it'll be a blank page. It'll look white, or it'll look transparent, depending on how you save it, the format. So every time you see this checker pattern, basically means there's a transparent, that this is transparency in this image, but only if you save it as a PNG. Okay, so our main character is a circle, and that's the reason why it's one circle, and then until he transforms into 3D is when he becomes a ball. So I'm going to go ahead and use the marquee tool, which I'll show you where that got that. So this little marquee tool here, and I got elliptical marquee tool. I'm going to go ahead and hold shift and click, and what that does, if I let go shift, it'll make it an unperfect circle. So you can see I can make ovals, and yeah, pretty much ovals and weird shape circle like things. But if I hold down shift, then it's a perfect circle. And I'm going to go ahead and make this kind of big, and then you just let go the click, and then you can let go the shift. And then if I'm in this same marquee tool, I can move the marquee around the entire place, the entire little selection we made. And then I can either press B on the keyboard for brush, or I can come over here and click brush tool and select the layer. And once I select the layer that I'm in, I can go ahead and draw, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to go down here to this little color thing, the color selection tool, and I'm going to change the color of this guy to some red here. And then, just like that, after I've done selected the color, I can go ahead and just fill it in by brushing this in. Okay? So now I'm going to hit Control D or Command D on the keyboard, and I'll get rid of that little selection. And now if I press V or up here, the move tool, I can actually move this around. But I like the position it was at. So remember, our main character is this circle. So I'm going to go to File, Save As, and I'm going to go one circle. This is VO, but that's fine. I'll save it there. And I'm going to go down to PNG, one circle. Or, you know what? I'm just going to name it circle, so that we know he's the main character. And notice that the format is PNG, so it's kind of going to be some transparency there. If I save it as a JPEG, then I'll have this white around it, and I don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save, and then click OK, and minimize that. Now that I'm here back at After Effects, I'm going to go right-click on that, and then File to Import. And then right now it's at this old project that I had, which is Halloween, but I don't want that. I want to go down to one circle and circle. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this file and drag it down here. And bam, there you go. You have it in your little sequence here. And I'm going to show you something real quick, which is cool. So if we have this circle layer down here selected. If you hit P, it opens up the position. And this little guy right here is auto keyframe properties. So this, if this is highlighted, then it's auto keying. So let's say I move over here, and I move this guy over here, and you can actually adjust how the path of it. So this little guy is like the keyframe path. So once I play it, it'll go like that, and I can just keep messing with it. So now I'll go like wee, and then I can make it come back. And you'll notice that it does it in straight lines, which is kind of ridiculous, but it's good. You can actually adjust it how you want to as you go along. So you can see that, and that's pretty much animated right there like that. Really simple, cheap animation. But remember, here one circle has a little ground here, so I'm going to create that too. Now for the ground, I could go back into Photoshop and actually draw it, or I can make it here by creating this little using the rectangle tool, selecting the color, which I'd probably choose kind of gray, and then making sure that I'm not inside this layer, because it'll draw it on it, and every time you move it, it will move with it. So you'll notice that there's a shape layer being created above the one we had. So here we have this new shape layer. We can move this independent of the other layer, and I'm just going to go ahead and place it where I think it's fair. And I'm going to go back to the circle layer and then go ahead and place it right on there. And if you notice right now, the sidewalk here, the gray, is actually in front of the red. So if I want to change that, I actually just click it and drag it down, and then now you'll notice that the circle is actually above or in front of the other layer now. So I'm going to leave that there, and I'm going to go to this layer here, and now you'll notice that there's also a do not enter sign. So for this one, depending on how long the shot is, which is why you need to know how long it is, then I can come and animate that first shot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause it and I'll be back. Okay, so I have Adobe Premiere Pro opened up, and as you can see, you can actually see how long the shot is. So we click on it, it'll tell us it's 4:15. Click on the next one. Okay, so the Z to zoom in. zoom in and then V, or click up here to move. So there's your tools, just like the other program. And we go straight to where that line is, and it says 414. So we know that this first shot is 4 and 14 milliseconds. So 4 seconds long.
Hi. I wish to be a real ball.
And there you go. So 4 seconds long. You go over here, put it right there. And we're going to go ahead and go back to After Effects and 414. So you can actually click on this little time here and switch it. So you're going to type in 4 and then 14. And then you'll notice that the little timer line shifted, and we can actually move this over to that point. And now this is your end point. So it'll only count from here to here, unless otherwise told, when you go out to render. So we only have to worry about this. So at this end point, I'm gonna move this guy over here. Okay, like so, and then we'll see it. And remember what the line was, like hi. So I'm gonna put some little, a little bit of emotion to it if I can. One thing to note as I'm working with this is, all right, so check it out right here. You have 416624. What are these numbers? X, Y, or Y and X, right? So it's the first number is the X. So as you can see, it's moving to the side, and it's moving in the X direction. And the 624 doesn't change, which means that we have it exactly in the same plane as the Y. So the same height is awesome. So with that said, I'm going to go here. So I'm just going to be like, hi. And right there, I'll move this up slightly. And I'm going to go back just a couple of frames. And it was 624, I believe. 624. And then back 624. And then you have something like that. And then you can also scale it so each layer has its own property. So right now it has its position. If I press S, it'll scale. And if I press R, it'll show the rotation. But because this is a circle, the rotation will actually show, unless there's actually some sort of figure or something drawn onto this circle. I mean, you can kind of see it if you pay close attention to, but the rotation won't really matter as much. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and click on S, and I'm going to try something. So as soon as it does that, I'm going to click on scale. So at this point right here, it's not going to scale until after I'm going to scale it. And if you unlink this, that means it's not going to scale proportionally. So one side you can scale one side more than the other, and that's not a problem. As opposed to if this was selected, both will be scaled. So I'm going to go unclick that, and I'm going to scale this and scale it down. And I think so. Now if I actually rotate this, it'll actually make a change. So something like that, and that's what I was thinking. So I'm gonna go back here, and I'm gonna change this back to 0. You know what? I'm gonna go to scale, and if you click this little guy here, it'll take you automatically back to this little point where we set. So now I'm gonna go to rotate, and I'm gonna set this to 0. So now when we go ahead and look like that. Alright, so let's say this is our final scene. This is what we like. This is what we're liking this scene. We're going to go down to composition, pre-render, and here is where all our settings are. So custom AVI, I don't like to use AVI. I like to use QuickTime. And here, RGB and alpha, this lets you render out the background is transparent. Remember that checker pattern we had in Photoshop? We can actually render out here. So let's say I render this out. It would be kind of like this black is all transparent, which is really cool. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that, and I'll show you what you can do with that later. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that. And here's if you want to export the audio if you import any audio, you can export that with this. But because I didn't, I don't have to worry about that. So all I have to do is make sure that I have QuickTime. You can export to AVI just like QuickTime more. And click OK. Also to note, if you're working like with small dimensions, you can resize. And you can do your own custom, or you can set one. So if you have like a certain constraint of the video quality that you can't have it at maximum, it does use a lot more memory. So you can play with those and try to reduce the amount of memory. And so now I click on one circle, and you'll notice here I'm going to go ahead and one circle, and I'm going to say this is, I usually just go scene one. So that way I know that it belongs to this little part here, or at least this whole thing. But depending, as long as you know what's going on. Then click save. And as soon as you click save, the only thing that will change is this place and the location of where it's going. And then you just click render, and you'll actually see it animate here. And then you'll hear a little ding. There you go. And that's it. So now this animation is complete. If we go down to the folder, let me open it here. See the folder. And bring this over. You'll see that scene 1 is there, .mov. Alright. So you'll remember this, we're back in Adobe Premiere Pro, and right click on this, import. And here's where we have that scene 1. So now I click, drag it down, and you'll notice it's slightly shorter than the other one. That's fine, not to worry. And if we play this,
Hi, my name is Cap. Someday I wish to be a real ball.
Dude.
you saw that? So if I turn this layer back here off, we have the original scene. Now if I turn it back on, notice what happens. So remember that black background I was talking about, the transparency? There it is. You can put any image below this layer and you'll have that in the background. Cool, right? And there you go. Alright. So I'm going to press Control Save, Control S to save, and you can hit Command S if you're working on a Mac. So now that that's done, you have to work on the next scene. So the next scene starts at 414 and it goes down to 717. Let's make it slightly longer this time. 717. And let's see, 717. He says it's 5. Duration 303. So if we highlight this, it'll show us the duration at the bottom. You can see it. So it says start time, end time, and then duration, which is 303. So let's go ahead and do that. So remember, just remember this shot. Do not enter, and then there you go. Okay, so we'll go back to After Effects. Over here, and let's go down to duration. So you'll see that this is one circle. So I like to leave this scene untouched. So in case something goes wrong or I need to extend something like we just saw right now, I'll right click on this one circle and I'll duplicate. So do that, just click on it, edit. You should be able to duplicate, Control D, or you can just click on duplicate. Now you have one circle, 2. So I just click on that and I just go ahead and decide, hey, this one is no longer touchable. I'll go ahead and just work on the second one and keep working as I go along. So here, 3, right? It was 303, so I'll just change this here, 3. So now it's 303. Move this back some to that 303 spot. Set this circle, and you'll notice what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go to P, get rid of all these, and just leave this back one. And press home button to go back to the beginning, and move this here. Now I press R, delete this one, and move this over. And then last one was scale. So I'm going to delete this last one and move this over. So the one thing I need to do is go to P, and move this here. So kind of like it's actually moving along. And we'll change it back to 624. And it's kind of a good thing to keep those numbers memorized. So in case you screw something up. And now, go back to Photoshop and click on a new layer here. This is for a new layer. And you can turn this bottom off. And go to our script. And remember, do not enter sign. That's the only thing that changes the scene. So we have to create that. So go here to this marquee tool, make a rectangle, move this up, brush, so B, then go down to our paint and select an OK color. Yeah, that's alright. So this is going to be the sign. And go behind it, go under, so just click one layer under and then click the new layer tool, Command D, marquee, so M, or click up here, and let's just make it like that, and then move it over. So this is when I go painting, this will go behind it, so you won't actually see the paint there. So what I like to do is I like to click this little arrow which switches one above the other. So making this the primary and the secondary color, selecting this color, making it darker, and then just painting right under it. So right now you don't see the paint that's behind it, but if I hide this one, there's a paint, see? So it doesn't actually exist, you just don't see it. So now Command D to deselect. I'm going to click right above this top layer. I'm going to hit T for text tool, and then I'm going to click, and then I'm going to type in do not enter. Let me make that do also capital there. And then Control A to select the entire thing. And you'll notice up here you have 20 pt, which is the points of how big the text is, the font size. And you can change it to pixels if you want. So here we go. And if you want to change it, you go down to this area here. And you can change it. You can actually just type in PX. And they also have multiple languages in case you want to type in a different language, and if you want it bold, underlined, and let's just take the underline off. And you can also change the amount of spacing in between each letter, which is really cool, or each words. So go ahead and do that. And let's see what it looks like if I put this down here. Do not enter. We'll make it kind of easy to see. So we can either change it down here or we can change it from up here, and which is best to do. It's more recommended. There we go. So that one works best. So do not enter. And what I like to do is click up here, press Control Alt Shift N E, and if I hide all these, you can see that it created just one picture. And now if I go down to FX and I go down to drop shadow, you get this little shadow behind it, and you can increase the distance of the shadow and the spread, which is how big and the size. So this is kind of cool to mess with the size and make it less. Change the opaque of it, the opacity. Then click OK. File, save as, and then this is where I would go sign, and then go down to PNG, so it's transparent. Click OK, click OK. So now we go back to After Effects. Right click here in this area, File, to import, sign, and then drag and drop it down at the bottom, and there you have your sign. Do not enter. And now you'll notice that it's in front, so we gotta click and drag it behind it, and there it's do not enter. When we go back to our script, our little script here, and it says do not enter. So that said, make this that long. We can make the shot. Let's see, move the shot. So we're gonna make the circle just move forward, and let's say you're kind of lazy, you don't want to click and move it over because you know that the Y is going to change. You can press and hold on the direction keys and it'll actually keep it straight. So right now I'm pressing on the right key and it's just keeping it straight. So now I want it to that point, to that area there, and a scale, and I'm going to scale this back to 100. So you can type in 100. And then you can click this back, so that's proportional. Oh, you don't have to, but it's kind of fun to do it. It's just clicking on check boxes and stuff. And then rotate. Go here and set this to 0. And there you go. Do not enter. So I feel like we should kind of set a little bit less, so it kind of has that he's looking at it for a couple seconds. Let's see, 118. Yeah, let's do that. So at 118, I'm just gonna shift everything over. So I'll rotate, scale, and then P position, and then we can test it out. Alright, looks pretty good. So, go home, press on the home button to go back to the start. Go to composition, or command control S to save. And I'm going to go down to desktop, one circle VO, and here is where I'm going to save it, one circle, and then I'm going to go to composition, pre-render. And the reason why I saved it is sometimes the power goes out, which is not cool, and that's when you just lost a ton of work. And if we can avoid that, then that's a better thing to do. So remember QuickTime, leave this at RGB and alpha. Now if I were to select RGB, then it won't make the background transparent. So depending on your project, that's where you'd select RGB or RGB and alpha. And then click OK, and then one circle, so just click on scene to get that name, and then go down to scene 1 and just change it to scene 2. Then click save, and then render. Okay, so now that's done, I'll go down to Premiere Pro, and again the same process, just right click, import, scene 2, click and drag it over here, and now
My name is Cap. Someday I wish to be a real ball.
do 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 do. There you go. It's slowly coming together from the storyboard, and the next part is whistling, and there's like a little machine there. Okay, guys. So this is going on long enough. This is pretty long already. So before I go, I just want to show you one thing that's really cool. So remember I was kind of like going in, pressing P, pressing S, pressing R. So if you actually want to see all of those things, you just press U and it'll unlock and show you all the effects or other things that are being keyframed, and you can see them all in one nice little view. So if I was to do that, you can actually come in, select these, and you can actually move them together. Just like that. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and next time you'll see kind of a complete version of this short animation. But before that, I will show you the 3D program. Thanks guys, have an awesome one.